If you've ever opened a diaper bin and instantly stepped back because of the smell, you know exactly how bad it gets. It's not just unpleasant, it spreads through the entire room, sticks to everything, and somehow feels impossible to get rid of. And the weird part, no matter how often you clean it, it always comes back. But here's the crazy part. There's a simple $1 powder that can completely eliminate that smell. Not just hide it, not just reduce it, but actually remove it. No harsh chemicals, no expensive gadgets. And for some reason, almost nobody talks about it. In fact, once you see how simple it is, you'll start wondering why this wasn't the first thing anyone recommended. Diaper smell isn't just bad, it's persistent. It doesn't stay in one place, it spreads. One moment it's inside the bin, the next it's in the air, on the walls, even in nearby rooms. And the worst part is, it builds over time. Day by day, it gets stronger, heavier, harder to ignore. You try to stay on top of it, you empty the bin, you clean it, you spray something. For a moment it feels like it's gone, but then it comes back. And not just a little, sometimes even worse than before. For parents, this becomes more than just a smell problem. It's stressful, it's frustrating. It's that constant feeling that no matter what you do, your space never feels fully clean. And when guests come over, that quick moment of panic, wondering if they can smell it too. Because deep down, you already know the truth. You're not actually fixing the problem. You're just fighting it over and over again. Most people try the same few things. Air fresheners are usually the first option. You spray them, and for a few minutes the smell seems gone. But in reality it's just covered up, mixed with artificial fragrance. The source is still there, untouched. Then come scented bags. They help a little more, but again, only temporarily. They trap the smell inside, but the moment you open the bin, it all comes rushing back out. Some people invest in expensive diaper bins, thinking that's the long-term solution. And yes, they seal things better, but they don't eliminate the odor. They just contain it until you open it again. And over time, all of this adds up. More sprays, more bags, more money. But the smell? Still there. Because here's the part most people don't realize. These products aren't made to solve the problem. They're made to manage it. They're designed to keep you coming back, buying more, trying again, without ever actually fixing what's causing the smell in the first place. The real solution is actually much simpler than people think. It's not a new product. It's not something advanced or expensive. In fact, it's something that's been sitting in homes for decades, completely overlooked. Most people ignore it because it doesn't look powerful. It doesn't come in flashy packaging. And it's definitely not marketed as a must-have solution. But that's exactly why it works. Because instead of masking the smell, it deals with the source. And once you understand what it's actually doing differently, everything starts to make sense. The surprising part, it costs almost nothing. And after you see how it works, you'll probably wonder why this wasn't the first thing anyone told you to try. To actually get rid of diaper smell, you need to understand what's really causing it. It's not just bad air. It's a combination of two things, bacteria and moisture. When a used diaper sits in a closed space, especially something like a diaper bin, it creates the perfect environment. It's warm, it's enclosed, and there's moisture trapped inside. That's exactly where odor-causing bacteria thrive. And once those bacteria start multiplying, the smell doesn't just stay the same. It gets stronger over time. That's why even after you empty the bin, the odor still lingers, because the source isn't gone. It's still there, embedded in the surface, in the air, even in the material of the bin itself. This is where most people go wrong. They try to cover the smell instead of removing what's causing it. And here's the key insight. If you don't eliminate the source, the smell will always come back. No matter how many times you clean, spray, or replace bags, it's just a temporary fix. So what actually works? Not a spray, not a scented product, not an expensive system. It's something much simpler, and honestly, something most people already have at home but never think to use this way. It doesn't look powerful. It doesn't come with big promises. And because of that, it's often overlooked. But that's exactly why it's so effective. Because instead of adding more chemicals or fragrances into the mix, it works quietly in the background, targeting the real problem. And the best part? It costs almost nothing. No subscriptions, no refills, no special brand required, just a basic everyday household powder, baking soda, not flashy, not trendy, but when used the right way, it does something most products don't. It actually deals with the source of the smell. The reason this works comes down to what baking soda actually does. First, it absorbs moisture. And remember, moisture is one of the main reasons odor builds up in the first place. When you remove that moisture, you're already disrupting the environment that bacteria need to grow. Second, it helps neutralize odor instead of just covering it. Most sprays don't remove smells, they mix with them. That's why you sometimes get that strange combination of fresh scent and something unpleasant underneath. But baking soda works differently. It interacts with the odor particles themselves, helping reduce and balance them out. And third, it can slow down bacterial activity by making the environment less favorable for growth. So instead of feeding the problem, it weakens it. That's the key difference. Sprays, temporary cover, bags, temporary containment, baking soda, actual reduction at the source, and that's why the result doesn't just feel better, it actually lasts longer. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a diaper bin that hasn't been properly cleaned for a few days. You open it, and the smell hits instantly. Even after emptying it, that odor is still there, lingering inside. Here's what you do. First, take a small amount of baking soda and sprinkle it evenly inside the bin. You don't need a lot, just enough to lightly cover the surface. Then, let it sit. Give it some time to absorb moisture and start working on the odor. This step is important because it's where the actual change begins. After that, do a quick, light clean, nothing intense. Just wipe the inside surface. Now here's the difference. Before, the smell was strong, noticeable, and hard to ignore. After, it's gone, not masked, not reduced, just gone. And what surprises most people is how simple it feels. No complicated process, no expensive tools, just a small change in approach. That's the moment it clicks. You weren't missing effort. You were missing the right method. Once you see how it works, you start noticing how many places it can be used. Of course, diaper bins are the obvious one, but they're not the only place where odors build up. Trash cans work the same way, enclosed, warm, and often holding moisture. A light layer at the bottom can make a big difference over time. Laundry baskets are another example. Damp clothes, especially when left for a while, create that same kind of trapped smell. Even in baby rooms, small areas where airflow is limited can benefit from something that quietly absorbs and neutralizes odor instead of covering it. And then there are those small, unexpected situations. Minor spills, lingering smells in corners, or areas that just don't feel completely fresh no matter what you try. The pattern is simple. Anywhere odor is trapped. This works. Not because it's powerful in a dramatic way, but because it consistently targets the same root issue: moisture and odor buildup. So if it works this well, why doesn't everyone use it? Part of the reason is simple. It's cheap. And because it's cheap, it's not heavily promoted as a solution. There's no big marketing behind it, no constant reminders, no push to make it the go-to option. At the same time, most products you see are designed for repeat use. Sprays run out, bags need replacing, systems need upgrades. Simple solutions don't fit into that cycle as easily, so they get overlooked, not because they don't work, but because they don't stand out. And over time, people just stop considering them, even when they're right there. Now, before you try this, there's one important thing to keep in mind. Even though this is a simple household powder, it still needs to be used properly, especially in spaces around babies. The good news is, it doesn't rely on harsh chemical fragrances or strong artificial cleaners. That's part of what makes it appealing for everyday use. But like anything, moderation matters. Use a light amount, apply it to surfaces, not directly around your baby, and always keep it stored safely out of reach. The goal here isn't to replace good hygiene or regular cleaning, but to support it in a smarter way. When used correctly, it helps reduce odor without adding unnecessary chemicals into your environment. And for most people, that balance, simple, controlled, and effective, is exactly what they've been looking for. A lot of people try this once and don't get the result they expected. Usually it comes down to a few simple mistakes. The first is using too little. A very light sprinkle might not be enough to absorb moisture properly, especially if the smell has built up over time. The second is skipping the basic clean. If the surface is heavily soiled, the powder can't do its job effectively on its own. And the third is expecting instant perfection. While it works quickly, giving it a little time to sit makes a noticeable difference. Once you adjust these small things, the results become much more consistent. And that's when people start seeing what it can really do. So when you break it down, the solution isn't complicated. You're not dealing with a rare problem, just a common one that's been approached the wrong way. Instead of masking the smell, you remove what's causing it. Instead of relying on expensive products, you use something simple. And instead of repeating the same cycle over and over, you finally get a result that lasts longer. That's the real difference. From a space that never feels fully clean to one that actually does. And once you experience that shift, it's hard to go back to the old way of doing things. If you've been dealing with this, try it once and see the difference for yourself. And if you've already tried everything else, this might be the one thing that finally works. Let me know in the comments if this is something you've struggled with, or if you've tested it and noticed a change. And one more thing. There's another simple one trick that solves a problem even worse than this, something almost every home deals with. I'll break that down next.